The discovery. The exploration vessel Luminous Inquiry drifted silently through the void, its quantum engines humming at minimal power. Captain Thrix Kavorin stood on the command deck, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the soft blue glow of the ship's instrumentation. The Meridian Confederacy's most advanced deep space explorer had been mapping this uncharted sector for nearly 3 standard cycles, and the crew was growing restless. Status report. Kavorin's voice resonated through her thoracic chambers, creating the harmonic tones characteristic of the Typhtal species. Science Officer Nilara Vex, a Solarian with luminescent skin that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, looked up from her station. Unlike the crystalline captain, Vex's species evolved on a tidally locked world, their liquid-like bodies adapting to extreme light conditions. Nothing of significance, Captain. Stellar cartography is complete for Sector 793. Standard asteroid composition, expected radiation patterns, no anomalous readings. Kavorin's crystal facets shifted slightly, the Typhtal equivalent of a disappointed sigh. The Meridian Confederacy, an alliance of 17 spacefaring species, had been expanding its exploration efforts into this remote region, hoping to discover new resources, habitable worlds, or perhaps even pre-spaceflight civilizations to study. But this expedition had yielded nothing remarkable. Prepare for quantum fold to the next sector, Kavorin ordered. Navigation, calculate optimal. Wait. The interruption came from technician Zora Drell, a young Vexillian whose methane-based biology required a specialized environmental suit. His 6-fingered hands froze over the sensor array. Something just appeared on long-range scanners. Kavorin's crystalline body stiffened. Appeared? Nothing just appears, technician. Respectfully, Captain. This did. Drell's voice quavered as he transferred the readings to the main holographic display. The command deck fell silent as the image materialized. Floating in the absolute emptiness between star systems was a structure. No, a collection of structures. Geometric patterns, interconnected platforms, spires and domes that formed an unmistakable pattern. That's a city, Navigator Trellis whispered, her serpentine body coiling tighter in what her species regarded as defensive posture. Impossible, Science Officer Vex countered, her skin flashing rapid patterns of disbelief. Cities don't exist in deep space. Perhaps it's a space station or abandoned mining facility. But as the Luminous Inquiry adjusted its sensors, the true scale of the discovery became apparent. The structure was massive, nearly 20 kilometers across, and possessed a complexity that defied easy explanation. It didn't orbit anything. It simply existed in a region of space where nothing should be. Full sensor sweep, Kavorin ordered, her crystalline form now vibrating with both excitement and apprehension. And maintain distance. Let's not announce ourselves until we understand what we're looking at. The sensors probed the mysterious city, collecting terabytes of data per second. The command deck's atmosphere grew tenser with each new revelation. Structure is composed of unknown alloys, Vex reported, her luminescent patterns fluctuating wildly. Power signatures detected, but unlike anything in our database. And Captain. She hesitated, checking her readings again. There's an atmospheric envelope. Gravity generation. This city is habitable. Kavorin processed this information silently. The Meridian Confederacy had encountered hundreds of spacefaring species over its 5,000 years of exploration, cataloged thousands of abandoned structures and artifacts. But nothing like this. Life signs, she finally asked. None detectable, but our sensors can't penetrate the deeper sections. The structure appears to be maintaining itself autonomously. Navigator Trellis suddenly hissed in alarm. Captain, historical database is suggesting a match to the architectural patterns. Display, Kavorin commanded. The holographic display split, showing the mysterious city alongside historical records. Patterns, angles, structural philosophies, all compared against the Confederacy's extensive archaeological database. Match found. The ship's AI announced in its neutral tone. Architectural correspondence, 97.3% probability of human origin. The command deck erupted in confused chatter. Humans? Security Chief Grax scoffed, his armored carapace clicking as he shifted position. That's mythology, not science. Humans were little more than legends in the modern Confederacy, a rumored species from the pre-Confederation era. Stories claimed they were short-lived bipeds who had briefly ventured into space before disappearing, either through extinction, transcendence, or, as some folklore suggested, a mysterious exodus. Most serious scholars dismissed their existence entirely or classified them as an evolutionary dead end that had achieved minimal spaceflight before vanishing. Run the analysis again, Kavorin ordered, and cross-reference with all known species. The AI complied. The result remained unchanged. If, and this is a significant if, this structure is of human origin, Science Officer Vex said carefully, then we have a historical problem. According to dating methods, this structure has been here for approximately 50,000 standard cycles. The implications hit the command crew like a gravitational wave. The Meridian Confederacy itself was barely 5,000 cycles old. The oldest known spacefaring civilization in their records, the now extinct Sreth, had achieved interstellar travel only 12,000 cycles ago. That's impossible, Security Chief Grax said flatly. No civilization could have achieved this level of technology that far back. The dating must be wrong. As if responding to their doubts, the city suddenly illuminated. Lights activated along its perimeter, then spread inward in a precise pattern. The crew watched in stunned silence as the once dark structure transformed into a gleaming metropolis. It's reacting to our scans, Vex whispered, her skin now pulsing with alarmed patterns. The system is waking up. All stations, defensive protocols, Kavorin ordered. Prepare for. She never finished the command. A beam of coherent energy, so precise it was barely visible, extended from the city to the luminous inquiry. But instead of causing damage, it established a connection with the ship's communication array. Incoming transmission. Communications Officer Pell announced, his gelatinous form quivering. It's adapting to our communication protocols in real time. The holographic display flickered and then resolved into an image that caused several crew members to gasp. The figure was bipedal, with a symmetrical face, external hearing organs, and a covering of synthetic material over its skin. It matched precisely the historical descriptions of a human. Greetings, explorers, the figure spoke, its voice deep and resonant. Welcome to Nexus Archival Station 7. Your vessel has been identified as non-human in origin, but possessing sufficient technological advancement for first contact protocols. This automated system has been waiting 47,326 standard years for contact with spacefaring civilizations. How may this archive assist your inquiry? Captain Kavorin's crystalline form vibrated with what her species recognized as profound shock. She had just made the greatest archaeological discovery in Confederacy history, proof that humans not only existed but had achieved technological capabilities that defied current understanding. Identify yourself, she finally managed. This is an automated archival interface, designation Keeper. I maintain the Nexus Archival Station and its records. I am programmed to share knowledge of human history with qualified species. Science Officer Vex moved closer to the display, her curiosity overriding caution. Why is this station here, in empty space? The human figure, Keeper, smiled in a way that seemed both warm and somehow sad. To prevent destruction during the Exodus, human civilization faced extinction-level threats. This archive was placed away from stellar bodies and planetary systems to ensure its survival against cosmic events and potential hostile actions. The Exodus, Kavorin questioned. The coordinated departure of humanity from this galaxy, Keeper replied matter-of-factly. But that information is classified under first contact protocols until trust parameters are established. Security Chief Grax moved forward. Your claimed timeline is impossible. No species could have achieved this level of technology 50,000 cycles ago. Keeper's expression didn't change. Your assessment is incorrect. Would you like evidence? Before anyone could respond, the beam connecting the city to the ship pulsed. Instantly, the ship's database was flooded with information. Technical schematics, historical records, scientific principles that made the Confederacy's most advanced theories look primitive by comparison. Warning, the ship's AI announced. Unknown data integration in progress. System overload imminent. Sever the connection. Kavorin ordered. But it was too late. The luminous inquiry systems had been completely compromised, not in a hostile takeover, but in an overwhelming data transfer that exceeded the ship's processing capabilities. As the crew struggled to manage the cascading system failures, Keeper's image remained calm on the display. I apologize for the inconvenience. Your vessel's computing architecture is inadequate for direct knowledge transfer. I have adjusted protocols accordingly. Please approach the station for proper interfacing. A docking bay has been prepared. The image disappeared as the ship's systems began to stabilize. Damage report, Kavorin demanded. No damage, Captain, Technician Drull reported, sounding confused. But our database has been upgraded. Computing efficiency has increased by 200%. Navigator Trellis studied her console in amazement. Captain, I'm seeing stellar cartography data that wasn't there before. Star positions, gravitational anomalies, information for regions we haven't even explored yet. It gave us a gift, Science Officer Vex said, her skin glowing with excitement. A demonstration of its capabilities. Captain Kavorin faced the most difficult decision of her career. Protocol demanded caution, perhaps even retreat to report this discovery to Confederacy Command. But the scientist in her, the explorer that had driven her to this remote sector, wanted desperately to accept the invitation. Opinions? She asked her senior staff. Security Chief Grax predictably advised retreat. Science Officer Vex argued passionately for closer investigation. The others were divided. Kavorin studied the city. No, the archive, floating before them. If humans had achieved such technology so long ago, what else might this station reveal? And more importantly, what had happened to them? Where had they gone during this exodus? Helm, take us in, she finally ordered. Slowly, at the first sign of hostile action, we withdraw immediately. As the luminous inquiry approached the ancient human archive, Kavorin couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't discovering human history. They were being deliberately introduced to it. This wasn't a chance encounter. It was a planned first contact from a species that had anticipated this moment millennia ago. And somewhere, deep in her crystalline form, a sense of unease grew. If humans had been this advanced, this forward-thinking, why had they left? What threat could have driven an entire species to abandon their galaxy? The answers waited within the gleaming city, an artifact that predated every civilization the Confederacy had ever known. As the massive docking bay opened before them, Captain Kavorin realized they weren't just about to learn about history. They were about to change the future of the Confederacy forever. The revelation. The docking procedure was unnervingly perfect. Despite the vast technological gap and the age of the station, the luminous inquiry settled into the massive bay as if the facility had been designed specifically for their vessel. Captain Kavorin led the exploration team personally, against Security Chief Grax's vehement objections. This is unprecedented, Science Officer Vex whispered as the airlock cycled. Her luminescent skin pulsed with excitement as atmospheric readings appeared on her scanner. Perfect atmospheric composition for all our species. It's analyzing our biology in real time. The airlock opened to reveal a vast, pristine corridor. The architecture was both elegant and functional, with flowing lines that somehow accommodated the diverse physical needs of the Confederacy crew. Lights activated ahead of them as they moved, illuminating their path while leaving the immensity of the station in shadow. This doesn't make sense, Navigator Trellis said, her serpentine body moving cautiously along the floor. How could humans predict the atmospheric needs of species they never encountered? Perhaps they did encounter them, Kavorin replied, her crystalline form casting prismatic reflections on the polished walls. Perhaps everything we know about galactic history is wrong. The corridor opened into a vast circular chamber dominated by a holographic display far more sophisticated than anything on their ship. As they entered, the human figure they knew as Keeper materialized before them, this time appearing more solid, more present. "Welcome aboard Nexus Archival Station 7, Keeper announced. "You are the first visitors in 18,423 years. The archive is pleased to have live subjects for interaction again." Kavorin stepped forward. "We have many questions." "Naturally," Keeper smiled. "But first, a demonstration of authenticity is required. Your species still doubt the timeline I have presented. Observe." The chamber darkened, and suddenly they were surrounded by stars, a perfect three-dimensional representation of the galaxy. Certain regions glowed with a soft blue light. Human expansion. Circa 15,000 BCE in your calendar approximation. Keeper explained. Over 3,000 worlds colonized or established as outposts. The display shifted, showing the same galaxy with red spreading across certain regions. The beginning of the crisis, circa 10,000 BCE. The emergence of the void consciousness. The what? Security Chief Grax demanded. Instead of answering directly, Keeper continued the presentation, showing the blue regions of human influence shrinking, consolidating, and then, most shockingly, disappearing entirely. The Exodus, 7,526 BCE. The complete departure of humanity from this galaxy. The crew stood in stunned silence. If accurate, this meant humans had achieved galactic-scale civilization when most current Confederacy species were still in their evolutionary infancy. "This is fiction," Grax insisted, propaganda from a long-dead civilization, trying to inflate their importance. Keeper turned to him, expression unchanged. "Your skepticism is anticipated. Physical evidence has been prepared." A panel in the chamber's wall slid open, revealing what appeared to be a preservation chamber. Inside was a body, unmistakably human based on historical records, perfectly preserved. "Genetic sampling is permitted," Keeper offered. "You may verify the biological age." Science Officer Vex approached cautiously, her specialized sampling tools extracting a microscopic tissue sample. Her scanner processed the genetic material, comparing decay rates and molecular structure. "It's consistent with the claimed timeline," she finally admitted, her skin pulsing with patterns of scientific excitement. "This human has been preserved for approximately 50,000 years. But why?" Captain Kavorin asked, addressing Keeper directly. "Why leave this archive? Why preserve your history for species that didn't even exist when you departed?" Keeper's expression shifted to something more solemn. The human directive was clear. Seethe the galaxy with knowledge. Prepare those who would come after. The void consciousness consumed stars, planets, entire systems. Humanity fought for 2,000 years before accepting that victory was impossible. The holographic display changed again, showing devastating weapons of incomprehensible power, entire planets being systematically dismantled, star systems collapsing. When humanity realized they couldn't defeat the void consciousness in direct confrontation, they changed strategies. The Exodus was not a retreat but a tactical repositioning. Humanity would leave this galaxy, establish themselves elsewhere, and research final solutions. Final solutions to what? Kavorin pressed. To the fundamental flaw in reality that allowed the void consciousness to exist, Keeper replied. The archive contains partial knowledge, enough to help developing civilizations advance, but not enough to potentially recreate the catastrophe. Navigator Trellis moved closer to the human preservation chamber, studying the ancient being inside. Why would they care about future species? Why not just save themselves? That question reveals your limited perspective, Keeper responded without judgment. Humanity had achieved both technological and philosophical maturity. They understood that all sentient life is connected, that the emergence of consciousness throughout the cosmos is the universe understanding itself. To abandon future potential civilizations would have been to abandon a part of themselves. The implications stunned the exploration team. Humans hadn't just been another spacefaring species. They had been guardians of the galaxy's future even as they abandoned it. And the void consciousness? Security Chief Grax asked, his professional paranoia finally engaging with the narrative. Where is it now? For the first time, Keeper's expression showed something like concern. In dormancy, the human departure reduced its food source, consciousness itself, to levels that could not sustain it. It retreated into the galactic core to hibernate until sufficient conscious life reemerged. The holographic display zoomed in on the galactic core, the very region that all Confederacy ships avoided due to intense radiation and gravitational disturbances. You mean it's still there? Kavoran's crystalline form vibrated with alarm. Yes, and based on my calculations of consciousness expansion throughout the galaxy, its awakening is imminent within the next 300 years. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the exploration team. They had come seeking knowledge, perhaps resources or technologies. Instead, they had discovered an existential threat to the entire Confederacy, to all life in the galaxy. This is why we were allowed to find this archive. Science Officer Vex realized, her skin now pulsing with patterns of distress. It's not just a historical record, it's a warning. Correct, Keeper confirmed. The archives were designed to remain hidden until nearby civilizations achieved sufficient technological advancement to potentially address the threat. Your ship's quantum engine signature triggered our emergence protocols. Captain Kavoran stepped forward, her decision already made. What can we do? How do we prepare? Keeper's form seemed to grow more solid, more present. The archives contained defensive technologies, partial understandings of the void consciousness's nature, and communication protocols. Communication protocols? Navigator Trellis questioned. To contact humanity when the time comes, Keeper explained. They have been preparing for this moment for 50 millennia. The exodus was never meant to be permanent. Suddenly, a new holographic display activated, showing hundreds of points throughout the galaxy, each one representing another hidden archive like this one. This network has been monitoring galactic development, preserving human knowledge, and waiting. You are not the only species making this discovery today. Across the galaxy, 17 other civilizations are having similar conversations with my counterparts. A coordinated revelation, Kavoran breathed, understanding dawning. You're activating a galaxy-wide response. The time for preparation has come, Keeper confirmed. The next phase begins now. The chamber's lighting changed, and new doors opened, revealing vast libraries of knowledge, technological laboratories, and what appeared to be communication arrays of unimaginable sophistication. This archive now belongs to the Meridian Confederacy, Keeper announced. Use it wisely. Learn. Prepare. And when the time comes, stand with humanity against the darkness that hungers for consciousness itself. As Captain Kavoran looked around at the technological wonders being revealed, each one representing scientific principles centuries beyond Confederacy understanding, she realized the true nature of their discovery. This wasn't just about finding evidence of a legendary species or recovering ancient technology. This was about inheriting a sacred trust that had been waiting for 50,000 years. Humans hadn't vanished from history. They had been preparing for the future. Their legacy wasn't just these archives. It was the protection of all conscious life in the galaxy. We'll need to contact Confederacy Command immediately, she said, her voice steady despite the weight of this revelation. They need to understand what we found and what's coming. There is one more thing you should know, Keeper said, its expression now solemn. The exodus was not just a departure. It was a promise of return. When the time comes, When the galaxy faces the awakening void, humanity will return to stand with you. The holographic display shifted one final time, showing the edge of the galaxy and beyond, where thousands of points of light moved in formation. A fleet of impossible scale waiting in the intergalactic void. They have never stopped watching, Keeper said softly. They have never abandoned this galaxy. They simply needed allies who could understand the threat. Allies who could rise to their level. The Meridian Confederacy now has the opportunity to become those allies. As the implications settled over the exploration team, Captain Kavorin felt something she had never experienced in her centuries of exploration. A sense of destiny, of purpose beyond mere discovery. Her crystalline form resonated with determination. We will not disappoint them, she promised, both to Keeper and to the long-departed humans who had planned this moment from across an impossible gulf of time. When humanity returns, they will find worthy allies waiting. Outside the ancient archive, the stars continued their eternal dance, unaware that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. The legendary humans, dismissed as myths for millennia, had just reclaimed their place in galactic history, and the Meridian Confederacy would never be the same. In the silence of deep space, other archives were awakening. Other civilizations were receiving the same revelation. A 50,000-year-old plan was finally coming to fruition. Humanity was coming home.